Well, all right, so what you're looking at here is the bottom of the door where the door got gouged on a 2001 Silverado. So we're basically repairing the gouge. And what happened was there was a dent. Now the green masking tape you see is where we're going to hide the clear coat line. So we're going to have a line where we cut it off, and we're going to hide it right under that lip so it really won't be visible, because this is like a flat plane underneath. So if we hide it up in there, no one will ever notice that it was ever touched. Another way of doing this, where we fixed it and where the primer is, you could blend the color and then blend the clear out a little bigger, but by the time you make the color over all the primer, then you go a little further and a little further again, at least 3 coats, maybe 4, because we'll probably do 3 coats and then do kind of a crank it down and do a bit of a drop coat. Maybe not, it's a dark color, we should be okay with this one. But anyway, by the time we paint to here, and then here, and say here, and kind of blow it across, we're going to end up with clear way down to here, and a bunch of overspray. There's no sense blending that. We're going to tape off the fender, the door. We're going to color this in, whatever we got to do to make it look nice. We're just going to clear coat the bottom section of the door. If you can't hide it, you might have to do a blend, but honestly, for the price of the clear coat, I mean, it costs a little more if it's a little more material, but if I didn't have this body line to hide it in, honestly, I might bring that right up to the height of the bottom of the window and do a couple cut-offs, you know, because we could always buff 2 little places instead of across a flat plane. The other thing is sometimes when you do a blend, often it works. Sometimes though, 5, 6, 7 years later, maybe it all peels off. This truck will likely last a while, so seeing how we cut all the rot out and everything. So the process is simple, and the thing you got to know is whatever products you're using, make sure you read your TDS sheets. Your TDS sheets basically tell you what the product you're using can allow for. Now, this is not going to be a very expensive paint we're using, because we didn't use a super expensive one on the truck. It doesn't mean it wasn't a good one. We didn't use a cheap one. We did a Limco, what they call Supreme Select Plus. It's a middle of the road base coat, clear coat system. Now that being said, I use a what they call Pure Reflections clear coat on some of these cheaper jobs and some of the good ones. It's a real nice clear coat. Like on a show car or something like that, you might do a tack coat and then 3 heavy wet coats. On a truck like this, medium coat, medium wet, done. So you look at the TDS sheet for this stuff, and that basically puts you in the realm of more than what the factory will put on now. So here we got water, and all we're doing, like where we did the body work, there was some little lines. We put a high build, and it was just a 1K primer out of a can. Now no, we didn't do basically just clean off the junk. Now we didn't do a lacquer primer. We did a slightly better option than that. It's a professional grade sort of stuff from Dominion Sure Seal. I use a lot of they have something called one-step self-etch. Well, there was no bare metal here after we did our fill, but this stuff here, it's a sealer and a high build in a 1K, so we could put on 2, 3 coats, and it's not thick like something that comes out of a can, but out of a spray bomb, if you do 3 coats, it's not bad. And then I came back a few hours later, we gave it a little scuff, we did 2 more coats, a little fatter. We're just going to try to get these little lines out. Now, I may not be able to get it in the first go. I can feel right here there's a little bit of a sunken area there, like a little bit of a ditch. And the thing is, we don't have to mix up primer if we use it out of the can. So if we block it out and we do hit filler or something weird, it's not like we can't add just a little bit more primer before we put our paint on. And you want to make sure you use enough water to get it off. We're not just making it wet, but you can see all the, all the cruds coming off it. And you can tell because it's almost like a light gray color when it's clean, but as you sand it, it almost looks more like a beigey, it almost looks dirty. But this has been washed off a few times and it's had wax and grease remover. So we know it ain't dirt, but basically the sanding dust that's coming off it shows dark, and it could be because we're getting some of the wear off of the waterproof. Now this TDS sheet says we can do this with a 320 dry or wet, or 400 and up to about 500. I like things to stick really well, but 320 is a bit rough, so I'm going with a 400 and I'm doing it wet. It's just going to allow me to have control over making it real nice. You can see I'm kind of doing a diagonal straight across. So then I'll come like this and do it in the opposite direction. So what I'm doing at the bottom isn't really smoothing anything out, it's just leveling off our primer. Just because it's down low doesn't mean we don't want to do a half decent job. Now I did get a little bit of primer on my rocker when I put my first coat on, and kind of a rookie mistake, which I haven't made in a long time, but yeah, this is a well-cured vehicle from last year we did, so this clear coat is super healthy. So later I'll take a little bit of reducer, and if I got to, I'll add a little bit of gun cleaner to it, and it'll wash that right off. And if not, I'll take the bumper, or my buffer, and instead of running it flat, it's a fat one, we'll come on the side, and we'll just barely push a little bit on there, and it'll wipe that right off. That's something you might not want to do if you're not experienced with it on somebody's brand new car, but I know what we got here for clear and everything else, so I'm confident working over top of my own work because I know what's there. Doesn't mean you can't do it on another vehicle, I'm just saying you might want a little bit of experience. Now, a lot of guys use all kinds of rags. I'm a big fan of shop towels. Sometimes I use white balls. We're not at a nice clean stage now. We're at the quick and dirty, making it ready to accept paint and look flat. Towels are cheap. Costco, Walmart, whoever's got them on sale. Basically, when I see them on sale, I think I use what they call sponge towels, and then I can't remember what the other ones are, but basically the two biggest brands when they go on sale in a big pack. I'm not looking too much because of budget, but no matter what these are, they're cheaper than your blue, your shop towels, or pretty much any other rags. So let's see if we can pull the camera off the pod here real quick. So down in here we had, like I say, a little bit of a line. It was right in here. This is actually where the scratch was in here. And there was a little bit of a rub mark in here as well. Now I can't go further than this because I don't want to see any filler. So our scratch went from here all the way through here, and then kind of around was a bit of a dent because it kind of pushed it in. So we filled that up. Basically, the process was I've got a sander that I've cut down to 3.5 inch. You can get 1, 2, and 3 inch sanders as well. I use a regular sander that had a 6-inch pad. I've got a couple pads cut down, but you can also buy, and I have one actually, a 3.5 inch pad, some 120 paper from 3M. And basically, when you take a 6-inch pad, the sponge is a little softer because they're spreading it across 6 inches to be semi-firm, right? So if you go back and forth this way, back and forth this way, you can actually kind of block and make it work. Now you can't do that on real aggressive orbital sanders, but if you've got the palm sander with the short throw, you can definitely do that. Now when you cut those down to 3.5, it's concentrated on such a small area, they're kind of soft. Well, the nice thing with that is you can even throw 6-inch paper and cut it a little bigger, and when you put it on, you come right into your scratch and it'll conform in, and it'll feather out the scratch real nice. It'll take any junk off the metal. It's nice and clean. And then basically you just got to fill it, overfill it, and block it off. What we basically did with that, if you don't feel like watching the other videos, basically I took one of these. It's just a Durablock, as long as you have something with a straight edge. We wrapped it in 180, and I actually went on edge this way and then this way. And when I got down to where you could almost see through the filler, went from 180 to 220, then 320 on a machine. We went up and down, because you don't want to over sand it, but you want it as flat as you can. And again, if you go too far and you take too much off, don't be afraid to refill it and put some more on and then block it again. You'll get the hang of it, is my point. You just got to take your time and think it through. None of these things are done quickly. So now that that's done, I'm happy with that. I'm not going to touch that area anymore whatsoever. I'm going to go I'll probably do 400. I don't know if I'll do wet or dry. It's not a big panel. I'll probably just do it with the dry. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to sand that whole rest of the panel and tape it off and get it in the booth. And I'll come back and do another video maybe after it's painted, or maybe during. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, thanks for watching.